This one is for learning how to write for percents from fraction models. This is both for Khan and IXL. There's lessons based off of this. So in order to be able to find a percent from a fraction model, you need to understand that the percent is based out of 100 and that all percent is based off of fractions that are part to whole relationship. And that's what we're going to really key on, this idea of part to whole relationships. And then if you can find a denominator, some of these we're going to be able to kind of skip over this by just realizing maybe some of the key percents and key fractions that will help us with this. But the key is we're always finding a denominator. And once we realize that denominator out of 100, then we have our percent. The numerator is our percent. And if you did the other lessons before this, a fraction to a percent, then this will be something you've already used to. So let's go ahead and look at our first example here. On these first ones, these ones you can kind of take a look at. So if you have these squares here, each one of these squares, we have a 10 by 10 grid, and you're going to see this quite often. If you have a 10 by 10 grid, then each one of these is 1/100th or is 1%. So that becomes pretty easy to calculate. If each one of these is 1%, we have 10 of them down here. That means this whole thing right here is equal to 10%. So one whole row is equal to 10%. So each square is 1%, each row is 10%. So with that, you can figure these out fairly easily, these ones that are grids like this. So it's 1/100th, so each one is 1%. So you can just simply find these out. So this would be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70%. So this one is 70%. Now if we were just finding a fraction, we would have 70 out of 100, which is 70%. So 70 out of 100 shaded is what we have on that one. But a lot of these you can just find the percent and by knowing that one square is 1/100th of it, or 1%. And that's important when you're doing these. So let's go ahead and look at another one like this. So as we're doing one like this, one thing we need to realize, this one is completely full. So everyone is full, and when we have, so each square represents the whole, and they're talking about the big square when they say that. What is percents represented by the shaded area? So this one right here, we know since the whole thing, it's a whole, so it's 100%. And that's what you need to understand, is this is the whole, so it's 100%. And this right here, this one would be, we would have 10, 20, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 37 out of 100, or just like we talked about, 10, 20, 30, and then each one of these is 1%, so that would be 37%. So since this one's 100%, 30% shaded in this one, our total would be 37% plus 100%, and that would equal 137%. So we just add those percents together. So to figure that one out, we get 137%. Realizing that each one of these is a whole, and that's important to understand, that each one of these is a whole. Each square, each large square is a whole. And that's what it means when it talks about these on Khan or both IXL. Let's look at another one here, okay? Each square below, and again, they're talking about the whole square. Whoops. Let's go back. Each square below represents the whole. What percent of the square is shaded? So we can do this, and let's go ahead and, so it's divided up in 4, so we have 3 out of 4 shaded. So 3 out of 4. So what do we times 4 by to get to 100? That is 25. So we're going to use a giant one of 25 over 25. So that's going to be 75 over 100. So that is 75%. And this is one you should probably start to understand. Each one of these is 25%. And yet that's a connection you should make, that 1/4 is equal to 25%. That's a connection. If you start making that connection, that's going to make it easier to do some of these problems, to understand that 1/4 is 25%, because then you can just add those up like we did. So 25%, 25%, 25%. So that would end up being 75%. This is something, if you remember this, that's going to make your life easier with some of the other problems you'll end up doing when you are in Con or IXL, realizing that 1/4 is 25%. Another important one is knowing that half is 50%. That's another important one. We call those benchmark percents. We're going to be doing some activities with those later. But these benchmark percents, 1/4, 25%, 1/2, 50%, those are important ones to know and understand. So let's go ahead and do another problem here. So let's look at this one. Oops. Okay, let's here. So again, if we just talk about what we did, if we can should be able to do this without doing any fractions at all. If we realize that this is 100% and this is 25%, if we understand that 1/4 is 25%, then we can just add those two together. So the total of this, since each square below, and again they're talking about the whole square when they say that, is 1 whole. So we have 1 whole, which is 100%. We have one of these shaded in out of this hole, which is 25%. So we have 125%. And that's the way you're going to be doing on any of these ones in Con or IXL as you get solving these. So remember, some of these key percentages are going to be important and help you out on these. So good luck with these, and let me know if you have any questions. Have a good day. Bye.